we're at with this is I've gotten quite a bit. You can ignore those errors down there. Those are my own custom errors. Just detect loading. But as you can see, there's sound effects going. They're playing a little too fast. They're playing a little bit too fast, but yeah, so like I've got the sound effects working. It loads sound effects. It plays them properly. And you can walk around into multiple different levels. The on-wall detection is working. You got the sprites and stuff working. All the little different graphics and stuff. Yeah, that I don't know what's going on with the footsteps. Ignore that. But what part of why I don't care is I'm abandoning this. So not completely. So what I'm doing is this has been a really great translation to get this working in JavaScript, and that needs to be available, and it will be available, and it's super functional, and people could definitely use that, and you can port that to anything you'd like. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take the code I've written and I'm translating it into C++, which is it's more difficult and things like that. But the beauty of C++ is that you can manage your memory a lot better, your resources. I don't have to do. There's a lot of like kind of generic data validation, which again, and if you know anything about JavaScript, you don't really need that because people they kind of have access to editing it while playing. So most of the validation needs to take place obviously on the server, so which is fine, and it should be doing that anyways, regardless of the language you're in. So to me, that's not really an issue, especially because I think that again, JavaScript is super fucking portable. However, I want to have more control over the memory management, and I do want to have better data validation without having to have these kind of generic, overkill type procedures going on in my functions and methods and stuff like that. So what I'm going to do is, switch this over to C++, which is it's more complicated, but it's not the most complicated thing. It's just, the amount of time of translating the JavaScript project into that. I've already wrote this to be extremely object-oriented and to be extremely portable so that you can follow the logic of what's been created. Most of what I've created it's not relying on web browser stuff as much as most applications in JavaScript things, because I didn't plan for that. I planned for it to eventually be transported into other languages. So I would like to move on to do that because I feel like I've reached to a point where the structure and the functionality is exactly what it needs to be. The on-wall detection, the worlds that are being connected, the level translation, the GANI interpretation, the sound effects, the sound handling, the media handling, and also the loading. So I've got like the stuff done. It's just a matter of taking that and making sure that it's now done in more secure languages that can be compiled. Obviously, because that's so much more ideal, I guess I should say. Not just ideal, but also it's a little cleaner and useful in the end. But the thing about JavaScript is so portable. C++ is portable, but not the same as JavaScript. JavaScript can be ported to basically anything. You can just do whatever you want with it. So like this JavaScript thing that I have working right here is actually extremely useful. And a lot of people, I'm sure, would love to get their hands on it. I'm not going to bother releasing that just yet because I don't think that again, that's not my primary concern. That it's one of them, but the primary concern was getting something done in JavaScript as a fallback because JavaScript is always there and it's always portable and it can be moved to anything. So that was like, priority. Now that the functionality is done, it's just a matter of like, keeping that secure there because, one of the things that Stefan and Unix Mad really loved to do was try to like hide resources and hide code from people and pretend that they owned things that they don't own, which they don't. And so that they hid behind like the server and the code in order to steal from people, and you can't really stop that, right? Because like you can't stop some nerd on the end of a computer who's sitting there like stealing your files in another country, and he's got like code to port that up and like to port up your games and content and just say, hey, it's mine. You can't stop those losers from doing that. So what they've always done was held on to their source codes and all of that jazz and the servers and things like that, which is one of the biggest reasons they shut that G server down when they stole my pay server game, my Bombi game, which was the first pay server that they used to hire fucking people with, which, again, I'm old enough to know, fuck you. So not going too deep into that, JavaScript needs to exist for the fallback because of its portability and because of just how powerful it is. You can write your interfaces. You can write your tools in the web browsers. You can have like online experiences through any web browser, and people can't really take that down, and it's so open source. So like that's so valuable. But JavaScript is not the most secure, and it's definitely not the best on resource management. Not that it needs to be, because it's actually really optimized in general anyway, so it doesn't fucking matter. But in terms of like where I want to go, that's not where I want to ultimately be and end up. Because again, JavaScript, as useful as this is, and I think it'd be hilarious to release this on the public and let you all just like, do what you want with it. If anybody wants that, you know what I mean? But like when it comes to the ultimate end goal, having C++, especially maybe if it's open source or whatever, would definitely be the better way to go. And so that's where it just needs to go. I've reached a point in the JavaScript stuff where you can do killer things with it. It's definitely basically a nice framework, a good game content management system and game engine. And you can also run it as a plugin as well, which is cool. I don't want to stop there. I want to take what's already been done and just translate it to C++. So that's going to take more time. As you can see, this project has reached kind of its end, which is why you're seeing the videos. Because the next phase then would be to just translate it into something that can be, compiled into machine code. Like something more low level that's more secure and managing the resources better. I don't want to spend too much more time on the JavaScript project. As you can see, like it's pretty much already functioning. So that can be come back to. You all can, even if I were to release this open source today, you could do whatever you wanted with this JavaScript thing. You guys could boot this up into Phaser. You could put it in Electron. You could put it in React Native. Probably, even though that's definitely more for like UI stuff, I wouldn't go that direction. But Phaser, some people might prefer. You could do it in anything, and you could release it as games. You could release your own games. So that's already possible. Where you wanted to take this moving forward. I think some of the biggest hurdles, that a lot of people faced was just having something that actually works and handles and manages levels and tiles and cameras and characters and sprite sheets and all that stuff and animations and all that jazz in an optimized and practical way. And so this is already functional. This is already tied in with another content management system. Well, it's not tied in, but it can be. So that you can create your own web applications and also have your own interfaces for admins and backend chat room stuff or things like that if you wanted it. I'm not going to go that direction. Again, Node.js would be the best solution for that path moving forward. I'm not going to go too far in that direction just yet. Again, that's the future. I don't really care for that right now. The better path is to instead go toward C++, because the code is already written. It's just a matter now of translating it. I want to see where that direction goes. It actually interests me a little bit more. I'm just going to take a big break from this. But yeah, so that's kind of where that's at. I think that C++ is definitely a much better direction in terms of security. And the code is kind of going to be mirrored so that, once or if, both of these go open source, you can understand how both is working because it's both kind of working the same way. And yeah, there you go.